Hi. So today in this session, we are going to talk about one of the most important aspect, or I would say the first aspect of leadership, that's self-leadership. Because we are going to start a brand new segment, a brand new course related to leadership and also management. So we are going to learn different sorts of leadership skills, leadership attributes related to change management, conflict management, counseling, different sorts of management skills as well, which is related to meeting management, influencing, analytical skills, information handling, and various other aspects which would be helpful to become a better leader and a better management professional as well. But before we start all this thing, we must understand ourselves at first, because if we do not explore ourselves, if we do not understand what we are as a person, as a leader, as an individual, then we are not able to become a good leader or a management professional. So in this particular session, we are going to talk about how to be a much better leader, how to identify ourselves, how to identify our leadership skills, our leadership capabilities, and then based on those knowledges, we are going to start the knowledge gathering or the learning of different other related leadership aspects. But yes, in this particular session, we are not only going to talk about identification of the leadership skills, we are going to talk about a specific activity which would be helpful for us, a very basic, a very important and critical activity which would be helpful for us to identify our orientation towards leadership. Now, before we start, we need to understand what is self-leadership. Now, self-leadership is actually a better sense of understanding about ourselves, like how do we actually behave in different kind of situation, and also how do we behave in different kind of scenario if we face different situations in our personal life, in our professional life, how do we react. And also there are different aspects of leadership, different aspects of management skills. So we have to understand how we will behave, how we are going to manage all this particular situation. So at first, let us understand the four different pillars which is extremely essential for the self leadership, and then gradually we will go into that activity to identify different type of leadership aspects with the description of that particular workshop or particular activity in this particular session. Now the first pillar of self leadership would be self discovery. Now most of the cases we should say that yes, I know myself, I know what we are, I know my name, I know my background, I know my family, I know what do I want to do in my life. Then what is the reason you are talking about a self discovery? But in fact, most of the time we actually do not spend time with ourselves. We do not really spend certain point of time with ourselves to understand what actually we are looking for in our life. We are studying some of the things for the pressure of our family or because of the market demand. Sometime our friends are suggesting it, and sometime or most of the time we are involved into different types of activity because it's required, it is the need of the hour, maybe for my family, maybe for my organization. But on the other hand, we need to understand, have we at all spent any time for our self discovery, that at the end of my career after 20-30 years, what actually I am looking for, what actually I want to achieve. If you are not done that, then definitely it's not possible for you to discover about yourself, because you must understand what is important to you, what energizes you, which is actually not very helpful for your growth. So few of the things which actually helps us to involve into certain things, which actually helps us to energize, which actually helps us to get more out of that activity. But some of the activities are there which actually extremely negative for us. So say for example, few of the person are very creative in nature. So if you give them creative activity or new challenges, definitely that person would be very much successful in that. But on the other hand, a day-to-day monotonous basic job may not be very enthusiastic for that person. So you need to understand about yourself at first that yes, I actually like creative activity. I actually like to discover different new things. So apart from that, even if I am not considering the professional life, personally, I love to read. I love to travel. If I go for a small tour, I become so fresh that I can concentrate more in my work. If I read a very good book, self-help book, maybe sometimes it is a fiction book as well, or maybe if you watch a movie, that is definitely very much critical for your freshen up your mind. So obviously you must understand what are your weak points, what are your strengths, how you become more energetic, and how you will become depressed. So all those things has to be identified, has to be discovered. If we have not done that, definitely you forget about learning new leadership skills or management skills. You actually have not even done anything related to your self discovery. So the next one is self acceptance. At first we need to be completely honest with ourselves. So we need to accept our self criticism, we need to accept what is our strength, we need to accept what is our weakness. Weakness is fine, but if you are not accepting your weakness, if you are ignoring it, and if you are not working on it, then definitely it is dangerous. And on the other hand, everybody has a strength, but if you are not working on it to make it better, to nurture that skill, to become more perfect in that particular skill set, then definitely that is not going to serve any purpose. Say for example, a person is very good in writing, but on the other hand cannot speak properly, because maybe it's not nothing to do about his English communication skill or capability to speak, but it's about confidence. He is not very confident whenever he is speaking in front of few audience or in front of the public. It's not very he's not very comfortable with that. But if you ignore and if you always try to avoid your public speaking opportunities, obviously you are not going any good to you, because you are actually not accepting the fact that you are not good in public speaking. It's okay, you must have or you may have some weakness, but if you are not working on it, because who knows, if the person is in a public profile, is in a profile like in where he needs to speak, maybe he wants to be in education industry, maybe he wants to become a C-level employee in an organization. If that is the case, then definitely you need to overcome that particular weakness. Otherwise it will always very much harmful for you and always extremely difficult for you whenever you really want some growth. So you need to understand that what are your flaws, what are your strengths, and you need to work on it. So work on your weaknesses, try to overcome it, try to at least do something by which you can make it better. And on the other hand, if you really have some strength, again you need to work on that just to sharpen it. Because definitely if you are not working on your strength, if you are keeping it aside that yes, I am good at that, why the hell I will spend some time for that, then what will happen, ultimately you will lose that skill. So it's very good, or it's essential, I would say, that you should also work on your strengths to make it better, because these are your strength. This will definitely would be helpful for you for different sorts of new work challenges and to achieve better. So work on your strengths and weakness both, but at first accept it, identify it. The next one would be self management. So a person who is not able to manage himself or herself, how can you expect that person will manage a larger audience? Because obviously, whenever I am managing a larger group of people, at first I need to be very much disciplined with myself. At first I need to be very much comfortable with my time management. How comfortable I am to manage my work, how comfortably I am managing my timeline. That's extremely important, because whenever you are managing a team, managing a group, or managing a project, whatever, and you really need to show your leadership potential, you really need to showcase your management skill, at first it should start with yourself. So you to be very much particular about your self management. That may be or can be done by making a note of different types of activity you're going to do in a day, and maybe you can use a software to do that, or maybe you can have a journal with the timeline, whatever it is. You, it has to be planned very well, and it has to be executed as well, because if you do not lead by example as a leader or as a manager, nobody will follow you, nobody will listen to you, nobody will give any importance to you. Therefore, self management and self time management is extremely important, and that starts with a sort of activity or a kind of initiative where you will write down everything or manage it by creating a journal or maybe using different softwares. Whatever is the process, it doesn't matter, but at first you need to be very much okay to manage yourself. You should be very much comfortable to manage your own time. You need to be very much pushy about you. You do not need to push yourself for more achievement, more growth every time, because otherwise it will create unnecessary stress, which is again not very helpful for anyone. But on the other hand, if you really cannot manage your time or manage your work properly, then definitely you cannot start your journey as a leader or as a management professional. The fourth pillar, or another most important pillar, would be self growth. So we must be very sure what do we want, how should we do that, and how we would be able to do it by doing different study or learning different new things or engaging ourselves with different activities. At first, we must be sure what I want to be in my life. Yes, I want to be a software engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a teacher. That's very basic. At your school level, at your college level, already you have thought about it and you have done it. I'm not talking about that particular growth. Whenever you start your career in any specific profession, there are certain steps to reach to the next level. You must be very sure about it. Where do you want to reach? What do you want to do now? So it's extremely important that you must understand how will you do it. What do you want to do? So say for example, I'm a teacher, but I don't want to stop here. I want to go from school level to a college level, then to an university level. Then maybe I really want to be a kind of speaker in different seminars, or I want to conduct different online classes. I want to be a part of different forums, whatever it is. You must be very sure about your next level. So say for example, I started my career at the age of 23, 24, whatever. Now at the age of 35, I want to do this. At the age of 45, I want to do this. At the age of 55, I want to do this. And at the age of retirement, I really want to do this. If you are very sure about your step-by-step approach, about your career progression, then you would be very much sure again that what are the things you need to do to achieve that. So at first you have a life goal. You need to have a very clear idea about your own growth, and then you create a path, you create a own career path. What are the different learning has to be done? What are the different engagement has to be done to do that? And how will you improve yourself to do it? So it should be very clear to you what do you want, and also very clear to you that what are the paths, what are the different types of activities you are going to do to achieve that. So therefore, until and unless you are not concentrating on this four pillar of self growth, that's self discovery, self acceptance, then this self growth and self management. So all these four pillars has to be and going to be play a very important role for our self leadership. So whenever we are able to understand ourselves, we have discovered ourselves, we have accepted and identified and working on our weakness and strength, we are able to manage our own time and our activity, and also very clear about our growth path, about our achievements, what do we want to do, then we start the journey of self leadership. Now in this particular segment, after understanding about the four pillars of self leadership, we are going to conduct or going to go for a very small activity by which we are going to identify our own leadership skill set, our own present status of different types of leadership skills we have. So we are going to do a very small activity, and then we will try to debrief. We are going to analyze that particular activity. So at first I would request everyone to have a small paper, blank paper, completely blank paper, because you don't need any help from outside to identify and discover yourself. Not really, right? We know about us up to a certain extent, if not fully. But in this exercise, we are not only going to identify ourselves, but also we are going to analyze it by following certain basic leadership aspects. So at first, take that paper and a pen. Take at least 10 to 15 minutes of your time and then think about yourself. Write 15 sentences about yourself. Small, big, doesn't matter. Write 15 sentences about yourself, about your wishes, about your thought process. What are the things you want to do? What are the things you are working on? What are the things which is important for you? What are your weakness? What are your strength? Try to cover as much as possible, but write down 15 sentences, which will actually describe you, not something which is already mentioned in the CV, not something which is already known to everyone. You have to mention which is actually very much true about you, because this is an exercise which is going to remain with you. So please be honest. Try to answer as honest as possible, because this is an exercise where we are going to analyze us, and it would be done by us. So there is no point that you will not answer honestly. So let us answer or give 15 sentences which is very much true to our own activity or our thought process, and then based on that answer we are going to analyze it. So we will talk about a debrief whenever we will complete that particular 15 sentences. Maximum 10 to 15 minutes you can take. So once you are done, I would say don't go to the debrief at first. Once you are done with writing down that 15 sentences about yourself, about your thoughts, about your different activities, what you are as a person, which will actually create, or which would be helpful to have an understanding about you, a personal or personal dimension about you, then we will start the debrief session. Now you try to refer whatever you have written in that particular 15 sentences. So I will talk about couple of points, couple of leadership activities, or couple of leadership qualities which would be helpful for us, to identify our weakness, strength, wishes, growth. Then we would try to understand what is already mentioned and what is missing. So let me talk about those points where you will connect your 15 sentences just now written by you. Number one, superordinate goal orientation. If you have written something which has a very much specific goal orientation about your life, then you write down it. So at the left corner, by using a different color of pen, write down that yes, this is going to superordinate goal orientation. Then concern for personal excellence. If you have written something where you have mentioned about certain concern or certain objective to have a personal excellence, mention that. Then concern for influence. If you really want to influence a group, if you really want to influence a particular project, a particular activity, mention that. Concern for family. If you have mentioned certain concern for your family, I love my daughter, I love my family, I really want to contribute a lot for my family, then definitely it should go to that. Like the first three would be goal orientation, like I want to be a leader in my organization, I want to be a project manager. Personal excellence can be, I want to improve my communication, I want to learn this thing, I want to influence the decision making in my organization. That way you have to write it down at the left corner of your answers. Now, concern for others and society. If you really think about your country, about your society, about others, not related to your organization, not related to your family, if it is something, a street dog, or maybe the uneducated children, you really want to contribute for them, then it's coming to that section. Awareness of personal strength. If you have mentioned about your personal strength, that I am very much creative, I am good at coding, I'm good at speaking or convincing with others, then mention that. Awareness of personal weakness. Weakness, maybe it can be your anger, it can be your time management, anything which is actually it's your weakness and you really need to work on it. It's something you have already mentioned in your 15 sentences. Please write down at the left corner. Now, awareness of achievement. So you know what you want to achieve, what you really want to do in your life. If you are very specific about it in any of your 15 sentences, write down it. Concern for self-development. So how you want to develop yourself, how you want to improve yourself. If you have already mentioned that process, not only the activity or the objective, the process, mention that. Internal locus of control, you are very much focused. I know what I want to do. I am very much focused about my goal. I am very much sure what do I want to do in my life. If I mention something related to that, mention that as well in this particular exercise. Now, proactive orientation, if you have written something where proactively you are doing something, so you do not need any push, you do not need any kind of push by others, or someone doesn't need to instruct you to complete your job or complete your work, then you are very much proactive. If you have written something there, mention that as well. Then how you utilize your resource, it's not only your team resource, it's your knowledge, your own money, your own different types of strengths you have. It's not only you identify or you understand your strengths, you also should know how you can utilize your strengths. If you are very much sure about it, mention that as well. And then if you are very much self-disciplined, you can manage yourself very well to complete your time, to complete your job on time, to complete everything as per the timeline. If you're very much sure and very much disciplined, if you wake up on time, you sleep on time, you eat on time, you complete your job on time, it is then going to be falling into the category of self-discipline. Mention that. Then planning orientation, you plan very well. You create a kind of Excel where you mention that by 1 year I need to do this, by 2 years I need to do this. I plan my months, I plan my years, I even plan my days. If your planning orientation is very good, mention that. And your future orientation, if you have a future orientation, then definitely how do you want to do in future, what you want to follow in future. So if you have very much clear about it, you mention that. Now, one thing you must say that yes, few of the points already connected with each other. It looks like repetitive. Yes, in few of the cases it's repetitive, but there are basic differences. So try to write down as much as possible, and then you try to debrief it. You need to identify which of the 15 sentences are coming in which of the 15 points just now we have mentioned. Now, once you are done, you would be able to understand which point is missing. Maybe you have forget to mention, that is also okay. If you have forget to mention but you are already doing it, maybe you already plan your day and your month and your year. Somehow in this 15 sentences you have forgotten to write down it. That's okay. Again, you write down it and mention that yes, I am already following this particular leadership skill or this particular activity. So it's already done, it's already been covered. But if you are not at all doing it, then again, on the back side of that white page, you try to mention this are the things I'm not doing. I'm not doing any planning. I do not have any concern for self-development. I do not have any idea about my weakness, about my strength. Then it's okay. Please be honest to you. It is an exercise which is going to stay with us. We are going to do this. Please be honest. Write down those points and then start working on it. The primary reason we are conducting this exercise to identify what are the gaps we have in our self-leadership. What are the things where we need to work, where we need to start working and improving ourselves. So therefore, if you are not honest, if you do not write down the sentences properly, then definitely you are not going to get the actual result. So please be honest, write down whatever is missing, start working on it. Because you need to at first, again I will reiterate, you need to at first improve yourself. You need to at first know yourself and then start working on it. Until and unless you don't do that, there is no point. You will go for a leadership session, you will learn some leadership skills, leadership styles, and then work on different management skills as well. Yes, in the next couple of sessions we are definitely going to cover some self-assessment activity to identify different sorts of leadership skills and management skills. But on the other hand, everything should start from your own self-leadership activity. Let us understand where do we stand. Let us understand what are the things what we are doing, what we are not doing, and where we should concentrate from now on. So that's the primary objective of this entire session. I hope you will like it. If you like it, then definitely please subscribe and please enroll yourself and continue with your study. And definitely there are some more lectures coming very soon. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned and continue discovering yourself. Thanks.